Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Madame. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. I actually tried to record this once before, and y'all, I love this show so much, and it's like I don't want to leave out anything. So it ends up being like the same length or longer than what the actual runtime of the show is. So I was like, Lord, let me just do what I've been wanting to do anyway with a lot of my shows, which is I want to do like a rundown. I mean, it's still a recap, but kind of like a rundown. And just like, I just do it where I'll just be like, okay, with this person, this is what happened. This person, this is what happened. But whatever. So okay, so the show actually came on, and it started out with Grace going to Phoenix, Arizona, to see her son. And as soon as I saw that sign showing that she was in Phoenix, I already knew why she was there. But still, when I saw that, I thought of the country song that I used to live for that goes like this. I got some oceanfront property in Arizona. From my front porch, you can see the sea. I got some oceanfront property in Arizona. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. That song is so relaxing and everything. I grew up on country music and a lot of other genres of music, and I live for that song. Anyway, so he doesn't know that she's coming, and they've actually agreed upon her just sending him the money for him to go and get his own place and just not have nothing to do with her. But she done popped up on him. She feels convicted in her spirit to see him and to let him know how she feels. And at the time, he was out and asked, when was he going to be back? And he was like, the person who, I guess they check in with at the front desk. He was like, well, they have to be back by 12. And not long after she asked that, he appeared, and then she got up and he was just like, what are you doing here? We agreed that you were going to give me money. And so she was just like, I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to see you. I have some things I want to say to you. And he was just looking at her like, you don't get to have these emotions and have your moment. You know what I'm saying? He done went all the way off. He done got to the point where he done told her, what you're not going to do is treat me like some toy that you keep stored away in a drawer, and you open the drawer up and you open it up and take me out and play with me and put me away when you want to. And I was like, oh Lord, you done went off, sir. But yeah, she's like determined that she wants to talk to him and get some stuff off her chest. Later on in the episode, he does finally allow her to talk, and she's like, look, I'm sorry for how things went down, and, I didn't know if I was ready for all that. And so he did ask her, like, what was your thought process the first time that, all this stuff came about with me? And so she was like, the first time, he was like, yeah, when you gave me up. And so she was like, I just didn't know how I was going to juggle, myself, you, and, Sophia, her daughter. And so he was like, okay, whatever. So it got to a point where he was like, I got my eye on a place. It has a pool. So she was like, okay, let's go see it. So she's trying to find any little thing to, grasp so that she can have something to talk to him about, because he ain't really trying to open up to her like that. He's still looking at her like, okay, girl, you donated the egg. That's it. I don't know you. We don't know you. I don't care nothing about your existence. Run me that money and go on about your business. Like, that's really how he looking at her. She actually was supposed to meet up with this woman named Misty like the following day, but she came to the church looking for her and she wasn't there. So the girl, y'all just had her name. Y'all know who I'm talking about, that assistant. She was like, oh, well, she's not here. She's out of town. And she was like, well, let me call her. Right before she could even try to get the phone call out, Phil comes from out of nowhere. And of course, he knows Misty. I think Misty is one of the church members who has like a lot of money, and they've actually met up with the Greenleafs before, and they've, I don't want to say what they call it, pulled off a coup, whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I think I remember them like all huddled up before and like discussing some stuff. But it's completely different now, and I'll tell y'all why in a little while. So anyway, she's like in there and she looks like very much so in distress. And so he come out of nowhere trying to act like he concerned. And he was like, what's going on? And so she was like, well, he asked, are you all right? She was like, yeah. And then she was kind of like, I mean, not really, but I came because I wanted to see Pastor Greenleaf. And, she had a meeting with her. She was supposed to do an intervention with someone. I don't know if it's her daughter or not, who is back on pills. And like I said, the intervention went until like the following day, but she hadn't heard anything from her. And she actually dropped in to kind of touch and agree. And she wasn't there. So she's kind of looking like, oh my God, she's frazzled at this point. So he was like, oh, well, I don't know what's going on. And this is before he even knows what's going on with that situation. I was just giving y'all the background of, as far as why she was even there. So he was like, well, you look like you're in need of someone right now. And I'm here. So he told old girl to clear his calls, hold his calls or whatever, and took her back to his office where she was for like at least 2 hours. So she ended up calling Lady Mae at the house, told her what was going down. And then that's when she found out that Grace was in Phoenix. Nobody knew that she was in Phoenix. Like, nobody knew anything. She didn't say, oh, y'all, I'm about to go to Phoenix. But she was like, she's in Phoenix? What? So then, like, she really went over the edge when she found out that Phil jumped up out of nowhere and basically had his schedule cleared to meet up with this woman, not knowing what was going on. So she was like, oh no, like she already knew he was a snake in the grass. You could look at him and tell he was a snake in the grass. The way he moves, the way he talks to everybody, you could tell he's a snake in the grass. So she already looking like, nope, something ain't right about this situation. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna find it out. So anyway, back in Phoenix, Grace is still trying to talk to her son, and they actually went to the place that he wanted, which has a pool. And the owner of the place was like, nah, because he has a record. And even though she was going to co-sign for it, they were like, unfortunately, because of his record, we ain't gonna be able to do that. So the woman didn't even get out the fact that, he had a criminal background. He already knew what time it was. He got in his feelings and walked out the door. Went out the little side door to just give him some air and just be like, here we go already. I can't even get out and be free. And so, she was just like, well, I'm going to go and look at some other places with you tomorrow. And so he was like, well, I thought that you said that you got to get on a plane and go back to Memphis. And so she was like, well, I'll be here as long as it takes for you to get a place where you want to go. He already explained to her that, he likes the quiet. He likes to be alone. He hasn't been alone in a while because he's been in prison, jail, or whatever it was for like 5 years. We end up finding out the reason why he was in jail was because he was in someone's home and asleep. They caught him in the house asleep this particular time. Now, he has been to other people's homes and robbed them or whatever, but he only was robbing people because he didn't have a place to stay. He didn't have any food. And he really wanted to steal stuff in order to pay for food so that he could survive. And this particular time, he knew that these people were going to be out of town. So he took advantage of that. And that particular night, he, ate good. It was cool in the house. So it was comfortable. And I don't know if y'all know about Arizona, but Arizona is deathly hot. I have some relatives that live there who, were living in Indiana, and for some reason, I guess because of actual ministry, they moved there. They have a church there, all this other stuff. It is really high. I be looking at them like, why did y'all move out there? I think her mama live out there. My cousin is a guy, and he married her. I've known about her like since before they moved there. Met her a long time ago when we used to actually visit Indiana. All that good stuff, but they moved out there, and the kids and all that stuff, they are all out there, and I'm just like, it is 115 degrees. It is 120 degrees. What did y'all see in moving to this place? Like, I am very confused at this point. But anyway, yeah, for him, he's just like, I want to be alone where there's quiet, and I want to be cool because it's hot. It is hot in Arizona. Jesus, don't nobody have time. So later on, after that has happened, they end up going back to the place that he's staying in. I guess it's a halfway house or whatever, or in between, or maybe it is the prison, but because of his age, it's not that bad. It doesn't seem that bad from what they allow us to see in the foyer. And I'm just like, okay. So she was talking to him and she was like, you're not the first person to get out of prison and, have it hard trying to, kind of get settled back into life. And, people are going to have these hardships. And so, she's trying to be encouraging, but it's like, girl, you can't try to talk to him about this when, first of all, you his mama. And look at the life that you've been living. Look at the life you've been living. You could have had this child. Y'all could have raised him. You could have still had Sophia if that was still in the cards for y'all. But you done sat up here. You done gave him up. I guess he was in the system because from the way that he was saying life was, there were times he was alone. There were times that, it was just really, really bad. And she looking like, oh my gosh, this is just so terrible. And I'm like, but girl, it's your fault. You had him and gave that boy up. Girl, anyway. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to get off her for a little while. Hold on, y'all. Let me turn the light on because the sun is finally setting and doing the most, and y'all ain't going to be able to see me in about 2-3 minutes. So hold on, please. All right, y'all. For some reason, old girl's name came to my mind. Corinne. That's the girl. Anyway, so moving right along. Corinne called Lady May and was like, look, Misty was up in here. She was looking for your daughter. Your daughter wasn't here. And old boy came from out of nowhere. He done shut it down. He said, all that. That's her name, Corinne. I couldn't think of it. But yeah, Lady May ain't here for it. And she about to try to get down to the bottom of why she needed to see Grace to begin with. And Grace ain't nowhere to be found. So she actually, later on in the episode, I ain't even going to get to that yet. Anyway, let me see. Who else? Y'all, Charity at the church house. She at the church house doing the most. She in her office listening. She's in an office listening to a recording of a song. And you can tell that it is a song that is definitely harmony and hope. A theme song, I guess, for the lack of a better term, for the churches. All the ones that they took over. And she was just in her feelings because she was just like, we got to sing this. Like, no, like, what are you talking about? So she was talking to the guy. I know y'all know him if you've seen the show. The gay guy who basically took over her position when she left the church, when she called herself torn and all that stuff went on with her. T.C. Carson's husband on here, that was his husband. I was shocked to see him on here in that role. I was like, wait a minute. If you don't know T.C. Carson by his real name, living single, Kyle Barker, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Y'all gay. All right. I was here for it, though. Anyway, so they're listening to the song. They ain't trying to hear it, y'all. All I'm going to say is that the song wasn't soulful. Not the type of song that you would hear at a church like that, even though they do try to keep it on the new side and not necessarily no, nothing like that, but it's kind of like the Mary what's that man's name, James Fortune. It's kind of like that, and Kirk Franklin-esque, if you will. Tamala Man and all that. They kind of try to keep it on that. Not that old rugged cross and all that stuff. But yeah, y'all. So she reading the song and she was like, what? Did you hear the lyrics? And one of the lyrics, it was supposed to be a part of. But anyway, they were listening to the music. They were not here for it. It is definitely not soulful or anything they would listen to or want to play or sing themselves. So she was just like, I'm about to email this woman named Judy. Old boy was like, look, Grace is not here. You can't, do all that. You can't do anything without her permission. And she's trying her best to do things without having to even bring anything like that to her attention. So she and her feelings like, ugh, okay. See, she still ain't got no power. So then later on in the episode, she finds out that her sister's in Arizona. And so she's like, I'm going to do this anyway. So she sends the woman an email reading the song, and apparently Phil finds out about it. He gets an earful about it, and he rolls up on her and was like, why did you email her? And so she was like, oh, I take it you heard about the email or whatever, and have you heard that song before? And so he was like, yeah, millions of times. And so she was like, oh, that song is terrible. So he was like, well, you gonna sing it. Y'all gonna sing it starting next Sunday. She was like, what? You have to be crazy. We're not singing that here at Calvary. He was like, well, maybe I wouldn't sing anything like that at Calvary, but this isn't Calvary anymore. Now is it? Y'all, I'm just tired. It's too much. She really be thinking she finna run something. It ain't running nothing. So anyway, she in her feelings, and yet again, she's getting dismissed. So he about to leave out. And so she was like, before you leave, I just like to know, do you know why Grace is in Phoenix? So he was like, Grace is in Phoenix. And so she was like, yeah, you didn't know? He was like, no. So she was like, well, I ain't know either. So I was just wondering if you knew. Lord, y'all, it's just a lot. It's too much. And so then she gonna try to make it seem like, well, don't you feel a little bit bad about coming in here the way you did? Basically because she just gave him information. He was like, yeah, thank you for the information, and walked out. I'm just like, girl, everybody using you and you think you're doing something and you're not. Anyway, Grace is still in Phoenix, and while she's in Phoenix, her mama is trying to get down to the bottom of why Misty wanted to meet up with her in the first place. So she ends up going with her husband, who insisted that he go. She was finally like, well, whatever, get ready and don't take forever. Ended up going to meet Misty at her house to see what was going on. So she was talking to them, was like, look, I don't want to talk about it. It was already enough to even bring it up when I was talking to Pastor Phil. I don't want to rehash all that. So she was like, oh, okay, I understand that. So then she was just thinking like, well, let me get some one-on-one time with her. So she asked James to give her a moment along with her. And he did. And she's thinking she's going to get some information out of her. She did, but not what she was bargaining for. So she did tell her the reason why she was supposed to meet with Grace. She was like, well, I came a day early because I wanted to touch and agree and, make sure that everything was still going to be going according to plan with Grace. And then we were going to have an intervention for somebody who apparently got addicted to pills again. And so she was like, oh my gosh, that is so crazy. I do feel bad about that. And then she then brought the news to her that she and her husband had voted against her because they thought that she very much so knew about what was going on with her brother Mac, as far as all that stuff with the kids, being sexually assaulted, molested, and everything else, and the money that was used to pay these people off when all that stuff happened. And so she was like, oh my gosh, no. Like, she really was dumbfounded, really trying to understand why everybody was against her and all that. That's why they got voted out. Like, a lot of people, that is literally the reason why a lot of people voted her out, and she was mortified because in her mind, she doesn't feel as though she's done anything. And in my mind, I'm like, there have been times that I could tell that you were protecting your brother, not necessarily because of that, but she's just one of those people that she was like, there's no way my brother would do that. And I'm like, okay, you don't have the proof. And all these other people are saying these things have happened. And I feel like if you would have put them up against a lie detector test, he would have failed. I'm glad he did. And I don't know if I've said this before, but I am glad that he's dead. But at the same time, what I don't remember if I said before was the person who played her brother. Oh my gosh, he was an amazing actor, lived for him in everything else that he played in. But when they put him on this, I was like, what y'all not finna do is this, because the way they portrayed him at first, I was like, okay, he's still playing the, good guy. Okay, cool. And then I started seeing little traits that I saw in other people who have done things that he was accused of that have happened to me, and I was like, I know they're not finna go in this direction with his character, and they did, and I was done. Like, I was done. I would like yell at the TV screen, like, how dare y'all have him up in here doing this? Like, I would have never expected in a million years that they would sit up there and have him play roles like this. But yeah, y'all. So she's in her feelings. Like, it's to the point where her husband was like, you know, were you able to get the information out of her? And, you know, all that. And so she was like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, she was really tore up about it because all this time she's trying to get the church back, and she's not understanding that she is fighting a losing battle already. She just really is. And I'm just like, girl, I don't know what you can do to try to redeem yourself, but no. Earlier in the episode, she told her husband that she had a dream, and the dream was her and a lot of people being in a museum, and something broke out, and she ended up following the security guard to a painting that had been ripped open, and there were people crowded around the painting. James was standing next to it with a knife in his hand that was bloody, and his hands were bloodied, and he turns to her and he says, I'm sorry. She interpreted the dream at first as he needs to get up before the congregation and apologize for his wrongdoing and all this other stuff. And it's not Grace's responsibility on her own to be able to bring the church back into the family, that he has to also do what he needs to do in order for it to work. And, you know, he was not trying to hear that. So after that situation happened where she met up with Misty, she talked to him, and he came in before she could even, you know, start explaining anything, because she finally wanted to speak on the situation. He was like, you know, I gave your vision some thought, and I might actually go on ahead and do that. I might do that. And so she was like, no, you were right. And she went on to say that that vision was about her. And then she told him about all the stuff that went down, and she actually started blaming herself for her daughter's, not involvement, but, you know, because y'all know she had another child who committed suicide because all the stuff that she'd gone through, all that stuff really messes with your mental. That's why when people lie about being raped, sexually abused, any of that, it tears my nerves down. I cannot do it. Like, it really does change you, sometimes for the worst. Sometimes you don't come back from it and your mind is literally gone. And that is apparently what happened to their daughter. She killed herself. She couldn't take it anymore. And it was just a lot. So she was in there, like, she started breaking down and everything. And I was like, Lord, this is too much. So, on somewhat of a lighter note, Zora showed up at the church, and of course, against her father's wishes, she's trying to meet up with the guy. I think his name is Dante, because he does have an appointment he has an appointment with her father. And her daddy wasn't there yet because he was running late. He actually had gone by the house to speak to his father about the situation, which was, he found out that his wife was, you know, essentially trying to sell the land and all this other stuff. And he was like, look, ignore her. Don't sell the land. The land is worth more than what anybody will try to give you. And just don't do it. No matter what she says. She doesn't really want that house. What she wants is for you to prove to her that you really are in it, and that you really do love her. All that stuff that happened with Tasha Skanks, or whatever her last name was, it was a lot for her. It really did take a toll. He'd already had a terrible record anyway, all the cheating he was doing. So I get that she was in her feelings and all that. And it was a lot. And I'm like, girl, he been doing this, so why are you acting surprised? But at the same time, I don't care what nobody says. She does want to get out of that house. He trying to make it seem like, nah, she doesn't want the house. She wants you. I'm like, no, she wants both. Like, don't nobody want to sit up in there under y'all's roof. They actually have rules to abide by, even though they are grown with their own children, one of which is an adult. like of the age to vote. So it's like, I get it, but no. I get both sides. She really does want a house, but I feel like the land would be more valuable if they keep it. So anyway, she's in her feelings, old girl. I always want to call her Zenobia, but Zora. Anyway, she went and she was trying to be sneaky. The guy showed up and he greeted her and gave her a hug. And not long after that, his little girlfriend or whatever she is, hanger on, came in there. And it was just, ugh, y'all, I don't know how I feel about her. I feel like she's a hanger on. But anyway, they were talking, and then when he went and had his little meeting with her father, Jacob, she mentioned the fact that she does have her own place, so to speak, but it's on her grandparents' estate. As soon as she said estate, she said estate, and it's like her face lit up, and I'm like, I really do feel like you're a hanger on and you're trying to be around everybody who has money, wealth, and all that other stuff so that you can try to be on the money train with them, get what you can get out of them, and move on to the next victim. That's kind of like what I feel like she is right now, but I'm not sure. But anyway, she like a dummy, took the girl back to her cabin and showed her around, and she did like her edges for her. And the girl gave her compliments and told her that she's a boss and all this. And so she was like, wow, thanks. I haven't had a compliment in a long time. And, she talked about her breakup a little bit and all that. And the girl, she started doing certain things before I really knew what was really going on with, actually being like, okay, is this what it is? And then I confirmed it. The girl was doing little things to make me think, okay, girl, are you bi? Are you gay? What is happening? Are you a lesbian? She did eventually roll up on the girl and like on Zora and like play with her hair a little bit, and as a way to kind of like let her know like I'm here for you. And she was really about to lean in for a kiss, and then the guy Dante comes in. He was like, y'all ladies shouldn't leave the door unlocked like that. It's unsafe. And so he, came to get her. But then it's crazy because when he appeared, she acted like a normal type of jealous girlfriend or whatever. And so he was like, I'll see you later. I'll see you around. And she was like, or not, and then left. I was like, you had that energy when you first met her. When you're alone with her, you're completely different. And then he comes back around again, you start acting the same way. Like, I can't. Y'all, anyway. So, back to Jacob and his wife, Carissa. So, after his talk with his father, he went back to work because he actually left the church to come home, talk to his dad, and he went back to work. So, after he was done with work, he came home with a bunch of white roses and presented them to his wife. I think they were white. And he was like, I have to put you first. I haven't been doing that, and you're important, all this other stuff. Cool. So she was just like, oh my gosh, like she really felt special in that moment. And so he was like, but I have something I need to say. So she was looking like, don't ruin it. Don't ruin the moment. And that's when he said to her, I can't sell the land. And of course she was in her feelings about it. And he gets a phone call. His mama calls him to come downstairs. So after everything went down earlier in the day when Lady May met up with the woman, Misty, she started going through these slides. It was some old slides of family stuff, a lot of pictures in there of Faith in the slides. And she was having happy moments and memories surrounding that. And it was just a good time had by all. So she was in the moment. She was calling them to come downstairs and sharing that moment. Grace flew back in because all the stuff that was going on in the church, she felt guilty, and she was just like, okay. Her mama actually called her and went off and was like, you letting the church go down and we're going to lose the church, and you're supposed to help us to do this. Like I think she felt guilty because of everything that her mama was saying to her. So she ended up, coming back in. But before she came in, she told her son, I got to go back to the church and handle some business, but I'll be back. And so he was like, you know what? Just don't even come back. I don't want your money. I don't want nothing. I wish I never existed. Like the boy done went off. He done went all the way off. So anyway, when she got home, her mama called her name, was like, Grace, are you here? And so she was like, yeah. And she's in her feelings and like tears are in her eyes because things were left on a terrible note when she left her son in Phoenix. So she put her bags down. Her mama was like, we're all in the family room. So I was like, we're in the family room? What's going on? And apparently it was like late at night. She must have taken the red eye or whatever. So they went in the room and she was still looking at pictures and everybody was laughing and in good spirits, like everybody was there. So she was like, what's going on? And so she was like, I just found some pictures and whatever. And so they actually had that projector that you sit the little slides in. And if you have the negatives and then you actually cut them out and put them in the slides or whatever, if you have that machine for that, then you can do that. That's what she had. And I was like, okay, then y'all better do that. So they had that and eventually they got it working. And the first picture that came up was a picture of Faith when she was younger. And Jacob was like, oh, Mom, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't know that was the first picture. And so she was like, oh, no, son, that's okay. And so they had it on it like for a minute. And she was good. She was fine. So then he went to the next picture. He was like, okay, so the next picture is this. And so she was like, oh, no, baby, go back to the first picture. I think we need to stay on that first picture. We're all together. Literally her being in the picture and everybody else is in the room. And that was a great moment. I think that was all that happened, y'all. If I left anything out, I'm sorry. I was just trying to cut it down because this video was going to be extremely long for no reason. Anyway, y'all have a good one. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for my new subscribers. I appreciate y'all. Like this if you want to. Subscribe if you want to. Have a good one. Bye.